Hey everybody, thank you for watching and taking time out to watch my YouTube video. I'm going to actually have to break this one up into two different videos. So I'm going to title this one 15 Dirty Little Tricks that the social workers Dcbs like to pull on the parents. And that way it'll kind of get you familiarized with what to expect and what to do if you are faced with any of these issues. Or if DCBS is using some of these tactics, then you will be aware of them and know how to handle them. I will do a part 2 to this video and give you 15 ways to protect yourself against the DCBS. So please bear with me, and I will also leave my contact information and links in the comment section. And I will also leave links to some of this information and useful knowledge that you can use and research on your own time. Of course, feel free to always go online and research anything that you are told, anything that you hear. This is in no way, shape, or form legal advice. This is just friendly advice from personal experience. So no matter what you go through, always arm yourself with knowledge. And the more you know, the less these people can get over on you. So, to start off, I want to let you know that the first thing, DCBS will always violate your rights. They take for granted and basically use it to their advantage that a lot of us aren't aware of what kind of rights we have within this particular circumstance. Social services and DCBS workers will tell us that we have no rights. And I've actually been told that myself, and because I felt that the social worker was there to help me, that she wouldn't tell me anything that wasn't true. And I was misinformed with that. They will not tell you that you have rights because they don't want you to fight back. They want to make this as easy as possible on them. And believe me, they have a set routine that they go through with each child. When it comes to actual abuse that's going on in the home, they have a routine that they follow, and that child is actually, given help. And those cases, I commend, those people for being able to take the children out of really, truly abusive homes and situations and allowing them to form a normal, natural life with another loving family. That I commend for. Social workers have stopped looking for just the actual abuse families and things that's going on in true abusive families, to where money is now a motive. So even where abuse does not exist, they will fabricate and make up things that aren't happening, and therefore they have a separate routine that they go through when they are faced with these type of families. So one of the main rights that will be violated is your due process. And if you're wanting to know what due process is, it's basically the right to have your case heard in a timely manner. You're supposed to have adequate legal representation by the state. And the federal Constitution states that you are innocent until you're proven guilty. And with criminal cases, family court cases, it's basically the same thing, because they look at you as if you're a criminal. They look at you as if you abused your child. Therefore, you are a criminal in their eyes. And in these day and ages, it's actually became you're guilty until you're proven innocent. And, the federal Constitution does not state that. So be aware when things aren't happening as fast as they should, or there's some constant delays and things like that. That's a violation of your due process, and being misinformed or not informed at all is also a violation of your due process. So, one of the first tricks that the CPS worker will do, they are going to pretend to help you. They pretend to help you, they pretend that they're your friend, and they have your best interest at heart, and they're going to do whatever they can do to help you to get your child back. That is false. They are not there to help you. They are there to manipulate, twist your words, gather information on you. That's all they're trying to do. And you need to be aware that this is going on because you don't want to give them the ammunition to use against you. And that's basically what they're searching for. So remember, they are not your friend whatsoever. No matter how nice and sweet and polite, they might be, they're not out for your best interest at all. So be aware of that. The second trick that they would like to do is they want to get you to talk. So when they approach you, they're going to try to befriend you, and they're going to be nice and polite, and they're trying to make you feel comfortable so you can open up, and speak with them more. And what they will do is anything that you say, they will twist it around to where they're able to use it against you. So even, even if you say, that, you and your husband, just like in any relationship, you and your husband might have, an argument here and there. The social worker is going to write that down in her report as your husband is verbally abusive. If you say that you discipline your child by popping them on the bottom, the report's going to say that you are physically abusive to your child. If you tell them that you're depressed, or, you've been going through some things here lately and you've kind of been down and out, they're going to put that in the report as you have mental health issues. And they might try to require you to go to therapy. And you might hear this, throughout my little report that I'm giving you today. Do not go to any doctors, therapists, counselors, anything that is chosen by the DCBS workers. If you have to, find your own therapist, your own counseling to attend. They have people who are basically working for them. And there's supposed to be a thing as patient, patient-doctor confidentiality. That is not the case. If you go to someone that they recommend, you best believe that your patient confidentiality will be broken because they are going to report anything that you say back to DCBS workers or whatever the DCBS workers might ask them. They're going to break that confidentiality and inform them of whatever was said. So if you can, by any means, find your own doctors and therapists to go to. If by chance you have no option but to go to these therapists, be very, very careful what you say, because anything you say will get back to that worker. So don't think that you can trust them. Don't think that you can open up and spill your guts to them, because it's going to end up coming around to bite you in the butt, in the end. Another trick that they use, they will basically be the abuser of your children. And they will yank your children out of your home. They will question them. They will talk to them in the way that these social workers have been trained to talk to children. They're basically able to ask open-ended questions and get the answer that the social worker's, needing. And the child is not aware of this. It's a tactic that they've been taught and that they use all the time, which is why it is actually against the law for them to come into your home and talk to your children alone without your permission. So I will address that in the top 10 ways to actually protect yourself with DCBS. So I'll talk more about that in the next video. Just be aware of how they will manipulate your child if they are able to get with them by themselves or talk with them without you present, or if for some reason they are removed from your home. You can already count on these workers putting things into their head, coercing them into saying things against you, or saying things that the social worker might be able to use against you in court later on. So just be mindful of that. Another trick, if you are actually, a married family, like there's a mother and a father, or, it could be you and your wife. It could be, a wife and a wife, husband and a husband. If it's a married couple, the social workers will try to get each of you to badmouth the other. If for some reason you're going through a nasty divorce, or it could be an outsider who made the call to DCBS and informed them of something that might be going on in the home. And when the social worker comes out, they're going to try to get you all to play off each other, and they will tell you, well, this one said that. It's kind of like the good cop, bad cop, thing that they do. And you just need to be mindful of that. They will try to create tension in the household with you and your partner. And by doing that, if they can get it to where you all are fighting all the time or things like that, then that's just more ammunition they can use against you, because now there's a volatile home. There's, a lot of arguing and fighting going on in the home, which would not be in the children's best interest. So, again, be mindful of that. The next trick that they will try to do is, like I said a second ago, they will try to get your children to make statements against you, or disclosures of things that's going on in the house. And they do this through manipulation and coercion and fear. If, how can I word this? If a child feels like the only way they're going to be able to get home is to tell these social workers what they want to hear, the child's going to do that. They're not smart enough or mentally to the stage where they are capable of being able to critically think about these things. So they're not thinking about the future or what they're saying being able to affect you, or them actually going home. All they think is that, okay, if I tell them what they want to hear, I get to go home. And a lot of times that's what happens. And I personally feel like any interaction with DCBS workers and your child, I believe it should always be videotaped, and that the social workers and the child all should be facing the camera, because that actually had been proposed by a few other people, due to the fact that there were instances where they did video the conversation with the child, but the social worker had their back to the camera. And it was later found out that while that child was being questioned by the worker, she said that worker was giving her facial expressions that led her to believe that she was saying the wrong answer. So therefore, she would change her answer. And the social workers will also ask the same question over and over and over. And what that does, it's psychology. And what that does is a child gets used to answering questions, and they'll answer a question. The social worker will move on to the next question. They'll answer that and they'll move on to the next question. When the social worker keeps asking the same question, that child feels that he's given the wrong answer. So he will change his answer. And there you have it. The social worker has got this child to say, what they've been wanting them to say. And of course, they could use that against you later as well. And that is, in my opinion, just another form of abuse that they do to our children. And the saddest thing is that when these children do make these statements, the social worker is quick to write that up, quick to file that with the court, quick to use it against you. But if the child recants what he said or she said and admits, I lied, that really didn't happen, I apologize, whatever they say, if they deny that what they had initially said happened, the social workers won't believe them. And they will always believe what a child discloses to them, but they will never believe what a child denies. And this goes the same for multiple children. You could have two children who are denying that abuse is happening or occurring, and then you have the youngest child who is even more impressionable, being able to be manipulated and coerced into saying that there is abuse or there has been abuse, and the social workers will run with that. And it doesn't matter what the older children have said. They've got, the admittance basically, and they're running with that, and that's what they want to use. So on to the next trick. After they come in and take your children, you are required to have a hearing within reasonable, time frame. And for the parents, I believe it's 72 hours. And that 72 hours also includes the weekend. So Dcbs workers are famous for coming in on Fridays and trying to remove children because you can't do anything for at least 2 days before any businesses or any official offices open up. So that gives them time to stack the deck against you and to get their reports ready. But you should have the 72-hour emergency hearing that Monday. Check with your state for the actual laws, and I've included a link at the bottom of this video that will take you to the state-by-state guidelines for these hearings. So, go check that website out. Keep scrolling down until you find whatever state you're from, and look and see, what the hearing laws and stuff like that are for your state. But what they will do is you have a right to that hearing. Number one, they probably will not inform you that this hearing actually is taking place or it occurs, and they definitely won't tell you the date. They don't want you to show up because if you're not there, you can't, contradict, or rebut what they're trying to say as the reason why they took your children or whatever the case may be. But you have a right to be at that hearing. Make sure you go to that hearing. And the social workers will most likely ask for a continuance, which I'm sure the judge will most likely grant. That puts a little delay in the case, but it also gives you time to prepare your case more for whenever you do go back in front of the judge. So use that time wisely to, make your timeline and get your stuff, your evidence and paperwork and things like that to use when you go to court against them. But that is one of their tactics, is to simply delay it. If you have a court-appointed attorney, most likely this attorney is going to get you to waive or try to get you to waive the 72-hour hearing. Do not do that. That admits guilt, and that will also be used later when it comes time for you to try to, get your children returned home. That will be used against you. So make your presence at that hearing. Now, if you are truly, truly guilty of what is being said, then you don't have to worry about going to that hearing because you're not trying to dispute what they're saying. You're basically guilty. So that wouldn't necessarily apply to you. But you want to make sure that you get it on record. You need it on record that you disagree with them taking your child or children, and you want to oppose that. So make sure you get that on record. You go to that court date, you put that on record, and, like I said, they will tell you that you don't have any rights, but you do. Your rights might be limited, but what rights you do have, you can enforce them. But if you don't know about them, then they're able to walk completely over top of you, and this is just a piece of cake for them. Do not let it be easy for them to come in and take your children, even if you do get defeated. Put up the biggest fight you can possibly put up against these people. Like I said, I have my own personal experience with these people, and I am still involved with these people and fighting every single day. Do not give up. Okay? The next trick that they will do, the DCBS, I'm sorry, each state calls their social service department something different. DCBS, CHFS, CPS, CSF. It just depends on whatever your state, however your state addresses this company or this organization. So when I say DCBS, that is who I'm referring to, in case you didn't know that already. The DCBS agents, they will try to get into your home. They will try to come in and assess your house. They'll want to check your refrigerator, check to see if you got running water. All that's perfectly fine if they have a warrant. Do not allow them to just come in your house and do whatever they want to do. They will convince you that this is something minor, it's no big deal. The quicker you let us get this over with, the quicker you can get your children home. We have to check these things out before we can allow your children to come home. Do not do that. Them gaining entrance into your house is basically them trying to find evidence against you. That's all that is. You can exercise your constitutional rights by telling them no. You are, local law now. The local law in your state or your county might state that social workers are allowed to come into your home without a warrant. But the Constitution states that they're not. And the constitutional law overrides any state law. So make sure you ask for a warrant. And if what they're trying to do is that serious and it is an emergency or whatever the case may be, then there shouldn't be any problem with the worker being able to go to the courthouse, ask for a warrant for entry, and then being able to come back to your house at a later date and present you with the warrant. 9 times out of 10, if they get upset or they try to, lie to you or manipulate you or scare you into letting you into their home, they don't have any evidence and they wouldn't be able to just go get a warrant and come into your home. Make sure you challenge them. Again, do not make this easy for them. Like I said, you have rights, exercise them. Stop them in their tracks and make them do their job. Make them follow the law. If you don't know the law and they know you don't know the law, then they're going to run over top of you. As long as you research and you find out what your rights are, you find out what the laws are in your state, and you exercise those, then they're less likely to be able to run over top of you, and it might prevent them from pulling some more of these tricks that I may have addressed on you later on, because they know that you know the law and they know that you're not going to stand for it. So it might prevent them from doing some of this stuff all the way around. So please exercise your right. The Federal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that DCBS workers must have a written warrant to enter when it's not an emergency. If it is an emergency, then they actually have a warrant and they can come in anyway, and there's nothing you can do about that. But they might even try to bring police officers with them. They are not above police officers. if a police officer has to have a warrant to come into your home, social workers also have to have a warrant to come into your home. Although they might act like they're above the law and they don't have to worry about anything, that is not the case. They have to follow the law as long as it is enforced, and we make them follow the law. The next trick that they like to use is the fact they have a lot of mandated reporters. And when I say mandated reporters, I'm talking about doctors, dentists, therapists, pediatricians, podiatrists, any type of doctor that you might can go to. And I'm sure, your doctor has talked to you about it or you've even heard it before. A representative from social worker or whatever office they work at will visit these people and they will train them on reporting suspected abuse. And they will enforce this upon these doctors and make them feel intimidated by it. If they're told if they even suspect it, it's better to be safe than sorry. Your child could have fell at school and busted his eye, or fell and had a bruise on his leg or his hip, back, whatever. And just in case, the doctor might report that as suspected abuse. And then here you go, there's an opened case looking into you and your parenting. So be careful of who you go to. There are officials, doctors, and people who do not like DCBS. And if you are able to and fortunate enough, surround yourself by these people. They are less likely to bend the rules and lie and manipulate for the DCBS. If it's one of those type of doctors, a CPS worker can't come in and ask what was said at your doctor's visit because the doctor's not going to tell them. That's, doctor-patient confidentiality. But if it was one of their mandated doctors, again, you can believe that your, rights and confidentiality would have been broken. So try to stay away from people are associated or affiliated with the DCBS. The next trick, when the CPS, DCBS takes your children, they're going to do everything they can do to keep them. Take that from my personal experience. They will, give you one excuse after the next as, to why they're keeping your children, why they're not coming home just yet. They don't have any intentions of returning your child. Now, if you're standing your ground, you're asserting your rights, know that you've already became the enemy. And so social workers are going to try to come at you even harder because they don't want to release your child. They don't want to give your child back. They're standing to make too much money on one particular child as long as they can keep that child in the system, or captivity, as I like to say. And in my situation, I call it legally kidnapping. That's what I feel like they done to my child. They went to my child's school and legally kidnapped her. I was not called. I was not made aware that they had even came in to talk to my child. My daughter never got off the school bus, and as a parent, I was in a state of panic. I didn't know what had happened to my child. And it just so happened one of her girlfriends said that she had left with two adults. And that scared me even more. But the point is, they had no intentions whatsoever of bringing her back home or giving her back to me. I feel like if it was a real type of emergency type call or whatever, I can't put the words together what I'm trying to say, they should have came to my home. My address is on file at the school. My phone number is on file at the school. If they had any concerns, they should have came to my home first. They should have checked my home, inspected my home, instead of going straight to her school and basically kidnapping her. So just be prepared to put up the fight of your life trying to get your child back home. What they will also do is they will try to keep you away from your child. Once they've got your child away from you and you're not having any contact with your child, they then tell you that, the bond's been broken. Your child's bonded with some other family. And 9 times out of 10, your child has bonded with another family because they've been made to feel rejected. They feel like something was wrong with them. And the social workers will make it appear to the child that you, the parent, didn't want them, or you don't have time for them. There's something else more important than them. You're not fighting for them. So therefore, they feel like, you don't love them, you don't care, you've left them, abandoned them. So they're going to bond to this new family. And then the worker's going to come to you and say, oh, they done bonded with this family. Your all's bond has been broken, and it's not in their best interest now to be reunited with you. So we're not going to return your kid. That's basically word for word how it kind of happened with me. So stay on your toes with these people. I mean, they get a ton of money. It had been documented at one point that DCBS, not that worker herself, but as a whole organization, they get almost $250,000 a year for a child that is just lingering in the system, that's not been placed. And that's what happens, when they come and take your child. That's the social worker's goal. And then you think, even so, your child is going to get adopted, but that's not always the case. They may make this foster family feel like they're about to adopt this child. And when everything's said and done, they in turn will do what they've done to you to this foster family because they don't want to give up that money. That's a lot of money to give up by allowing, this child to be adopted and get placed with a good family. So they'd rather keep the child in the system bouncing around from foster home to foster home and get more money. And if your child happens to have some type of disability or on any type of medication, they get more money for those children. So if, for instance, your child is normal and healthy and they end up going into the system, I bet at some point in time you will find out that your child's on some type of medication, or your child has been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or autism. Your child is most likely going to be diagnosed with something because that means they get more money. And if you're lucky to have your child returned, you're probably going to find out that they've been put on certain medications or whatever. And if you don't agree with those medications and don't give the child medication, then they're going to turn around and get you for medical neglect. It's a no-win situation. That's why this is so important. That's why I'm making these videos. I have went through pure hell for 2 years, 2.5 years actually, and I'm still going through it. So I have vowed I would do whatever I could do to help somebody to where this doesn't happen again, or at least it will save someone's family from being torn apart. So Let's get on to the next trick. We've only got a few more left, and I'm already up to over 30 minutes already. The next trick, the social workers will often try to get you to sign, a case plan, a prevention plan, case plan, whatever your state calls that. You do not have to sign that document. They will tell you, if you sign this, then you'll get your children faster. And they make you think that, okay, if I sign this saying that I'm guilty, I'll get my kids back sooner. That's not the case. Do not listen to that. Again, you have rights. If they want you to sign something that basically is admitting guilt, I did not know that. I signed their paper, their prevention plan, and it basically stated I was guilty. And I wish now I could have went back and changed things. There's a lot of things I wish I could change because I have educated myself, along the way and learned a lot of things that I didn't know in the beginning because I had never been faced with this kind of stuff. So do not sign anything. You do not sign waivers, and they'll put pressure on you. They might even lie to you and say that you won't get your kids back at all if you don't sign this. There is nothing wrong with you telling them that you would like for your attorney to review the document before you sign it. Now, it it might delay, things, a little bit, but it's going to be more beneficial for you to refuse signing that paper and allowing your attorney, and you might not even have an attorney appointed to you yet, and that's okay. When you do go to court, especially if, you are of a lower income, stature, you will be appointed an attorney. Excuse me. So keep that paper or get a copy of it, whatever, and allow your attorney to review that before you sign it and see what your attorney says to you. If for some reason they won't give you a copy of it to give to your attorney, there is also a big problem with that. Again, I will address those issues on how to protect yourself from the DCBS. But document that you requested it, and if by all means, send it in an email. That way you have documentation of it, and allow your attorney to know that you requested, a copy of it so you could let them see it and you was denied that copy. Let's see. The next trick. Family services. Oh God. DCBS will try to withhold documents from you, even though you are allowed to have your case file and any of your records by law. That's law. I don't know what the number of the law is because it varies with each state. Regardless, you are allowed to have your documents. And what will happen is, for one, they will tell you that you can't have them. That's a blatant lie. There are certain forms, I know with my state, there are 2 separate forms that I had to research and, of course, finally found them. But I had to print those out, and I had to fill both forms out, one for myself and one for my daughter. So a total of 4 forms, and send them into our state capitol. And from there, that's how I obtained records. However, when you send those in to that record management office, they in turn contact the social worker over your case. That social worker is made aware that you are requesting A, B, C, and D of your documents. And so it is left up to the social worker as to what she pulls out of your file. And once she pulls what records she thinks that it's suitable to send you, she will in turn send those back to the records department, and the records department will send them to you. Now, some states do require a copy and shipping fee. I know for Kentucky, It was free for the first 20 pages, and then it was 10 cents a copy, and then plus shipping. So you should get letters, confirming they got your request, and then you'll get another letter stating how much they're going to send you and how much it's going to cost you. And once you send the money in, then, you should get your documents. But the point is, there is probably documents they don't want you to see. In my case, I attempted to retrieve all of my files 5 times. And the first time, I was sent 42 pages. Second time, I had contacted them by phone and said, I know this can't be all of my records. And she said, well, you didn't state all of them. I said, yes, I did. So if you can, make copies of those papers before you send them in, so you have proof that you requested all of your documents. And do that for you and every child that you're requesting documents for. And so therefore, I done another one, and she sent me the same 42 pages plus some odd and end papers from 15, 20 years ago. And I thought at that point that was all of my records. I didn't know any better. I don't know what's supposed to be in a social service case or anything like that, or what papers I was looking for. But as my case went on, I was needing other documents, and the long story short, I had to get them from doing an open records request, which I had done, and I was told it was all of my documents, but it wasn't true. That wasn't all of my documents. So when I found out how the process really went, I put 2 and 2 together and finally realized that the social worker was basically puppeteering what this, records management lady was sending me. And they were sending me basically what they thought I would think was sufficient. And they knew I didn't know any better. But I believe either A, there wasn't the right documents in my file that should have been in there, because the way my case had went, there was a lot of manipulation. I believe there was altering of documents. I believe there was forgery of documents. And I really think that this worker had skipped a lot of things that she should have done. So either A, those documents wasn't present in my case, so therefore she couldn't send me all of my documents because they hadn't prepared everything that was supposed to be in there. And so by continuing to deny me, it gave them more time to doctor up these papers and get them filled out and put in there, even though they wasn't in there when they should have been. It was either that, or there was documents and information in there that they didn't want me to see or have, because it would have proved things that they were doing illegally, or it would have, caught them in a lie or something like that. Eventually, after the 5th time, my rights were terminated once, and of course I was denied, records then because my rights were terminated. But when I fought back and I was able to get my case overturned and vacated, I was able to prove that the worker violated my due process and did not provide reasonable efforts with my daughter and I, and got it vacated. My rights were reestablished. So I attempted getting my records twice after that. And the first time I was denied, and the second time I was finally sent the documents they claim is all of my files. Now, with my case, I haven't got the documents yet, so I will probably do another video once I get those documents and go from there. But there's more information I'll share with you about that later on in other videos. That's why I'm doing this, because there is so much information that parents new to this type of circumstance really needs to know. And If you don't inform yourself and arm yourself, you're not going to withstand the battle against these people. I mean, you're just not. That's just the way it is. So be sure that and remember you are allowed to get your own records. Some records you might have a judge's order, which you can go and ask the judge that yourself, or you can have your attorney ask the judge that. You don't have to go hire a special attorney and have a special court date to get a judge's order. A lot of people have thought that, and it's prevented them from getting their records. And had they have been, able to get their records earlier in their case, they might have been able to save their children. So don't learn this stuff when it's too late to do anything about anything. Start educating yourself the moment you realize that you're dealing with these people. So, like I said, they will play games with your records. They will alter, they will falsify documents to make you look bad. They'll do anything to justify their case and justify their actions. They will do whatever they can do, because some reports and assessments and things that's done throughout your case, the judge does not see in its entirety. And he's basically being informed and goes off the information from these social workers. So by getting your records, you will be able to see what they're saying against you and what they're trying to use against you. And you and your attorney can go head to head with these people in court and inform the judge of certain things he might not know about. Because you might be one that gets a sexual abuse investigation open on you. The judge is not going to see the investigative reports. He's just not. That's just not part of the process. But he's going to go on what this social worker says. So she's going to make it appear that you are the biggest, worst, nastiest pedophile that there is, when you know yourself and she knows that nothing really happened. They have just made this allegation up so they can keep you from your kid and have something to use against you. But the point is, in your file, it might state that you was washing your daughter and giving your daughter a bath, or you were giving your son a bath, or you had to put medicine on your daughter, and your daughter might have disclosed that information to one of the workers during a questioning session. I'm sure the worker might have asked, did your mommy touch you anywhere? Has your daddy touched you anywhere? Yeah, she had to put medicine on me once. What this worker is going to do is she's going to write this up as if, you done this on a malicious intent, or on a sexual, intended nature. And the judge isn't going to see that in your report you were putting medicine on your child. He's not going to see that part. He's just going to see what the social worker tells them. So you want to get these documents so you can inform the judge things that he needs to know that the social worker is not going to tell them. So, the next trick, okay? If you are allowed to visit your child, you best believe you're not going to be able to show them too much affection, because then that will be deemed as you being inappropriate, and that will give them reasons to stop your visitation. If you have your visits, let your children know how much you love them, how hard you're working on getting them home. Always, always just reassure your children of this. I know for me, I had supervised visitation, and part of my case plan stated that I was not allowed to have any type of adult topic or adult conversations with my child. Dcbs will put negative things in your children's head. They will tell them, that you don't care about them anymore. For me, they was taking my daughter to visits that didn't even exist. So when she would think I wasn't showing up, it would break her heart. And then they would tell her, oh, well, your mommy probably had something more important to do, or your mommy's doing this or whatever. They program your child to think that you don't love them or you don't care about them or that you've abandoned them. So reassure your children every chance you get. And by them putting that statement, that clause in my case plan, that prevented me from being able to tell my child anything about what was going on. I couldn't tell my daughter, look, mommy's got to go to court next week, or mommy's got to do this and this and this, and then once I go to counseling, you can come home. I couldn't talk to her about any of that. And when I found out what was going on, I wasn't able to tell my daughter, look, the social worker lied to you. The social worker done this, because they are monitoring these visits. And as soon as I would have crossed that boundary, they would have stripped all my visitation from me. And then I would have later had to have battled that out in court. And they would have made it appear as if I had some severe violation and might not get my visits back. So if you're able to have your visits, make sure you make the best possible time out of what visitation you have. Another trick, they will file new allegations on you. If you're doing everything you're supposed to do and they have no intentions of your child coming home, they will start fabricating things. They will file new allegations against you, just like me with my case. First, they filed sexual abuse allegations against my father, and my father saw my daughter once. But they done that because I don't have any family, and the only person that could have taken my daughter was my father. So by getting a sexual abuse investigation and allegation on him, it prevented him from being able to take custody of my daughter. Well, as soon as that was closed, then they opened one on me. And that allowed them to take my visits from me and keep me apart from my daughter. And more stuff had taken place, and I will again address that later. Just be prepared. And if they do open any type of investigation on you or any type of allegation, do not answer any of their questions. You have a right to remain silent and not to self-incriminate yourself. Invoke that right, because if you try to explain yourself, you will end up in jail. That's why they want to talk to you. They want you to explain yourself. That way they can have more information, use it against you. Therefore, they've got you to admit that you touched your child, even though it was because you gave her a bath or him a bath. You've admitted that, yes, you touched your child, and that is enough for them to go and get a warrant on you for. So do not answer any questions. Talk to your lawyer before you do answer any of those questions. If they're talking to you, they don't have any evidence to arrest you. If they did, they would have arrested you. So they're trying to find information from you to arrest you on. And if you're in jail, then you definitely can't fight for your child. So shut up. Don't say nothing. Don't answer their questions. Don't give them the ammunition against you. The last trick that I have today that they pull on you. You can file a complaint and you can challenge the DCBS office at a fair hearing. It's not common because a lot of times they will keep putting this court date off and put it off, and they can put it off for a year or more. So a lot of people don't. That is one of the dirtiest tricks they use because it goes against your due process by not allowing you to have, fair and adequate speedy trial things. But the complaints against them don't get heard. and by the time something does happen, it's too late. So you do have, outlets for complaints. Make sure you ask questions. You can ask your social worker these questions and make her give you the answers. If she don't, then that's another violation she's committed, and you need to keep documentation of all that. But I have wrapped up the top, 10, 15 things that social workers will do to trick you and for you to be aware of. My next video, I will address the things that you can do to protect your children and yourself. Please, 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 please arm yourself with knowledge. We are talking about the lives of your children, and there's nothing more that you can do except educate yourself. Educate yourself and force the courts and these social workers to abide by the law. If you don't know the law and you don't know your rights, they will run over top of you. I'm so glad to actually talk to you guys today. I will put another video up later of the other things. Again, all of my information to contact me is below. Please hit like, share this video, give me the thumbs up, and I will try to get more information out there to you as possible. There is a few court cases going on regarding the social service and Dcbs workers that I would like to address too. So I will bring all this stuff to your computer and to your doorstep. So just click on it, like it, and watch it, and do everything you can to arm yourself. You guys have a blessed day. Good night.